Say something.
All right, welcome in. It is time for Total Bases. I think I surprised everyone when I hit go live right there, but we are live. We've got one game to talk about today. But as folks file in, just to give people, I know a lot of people like to watch this show live, so I think we can comment on what we saw last night. The Dodgers advance. I do feel bad for Phillies pitcher. That's not the way that you want to go out, but you know what? The Dodgers were the better team in that series. They deserve to advance, in my opinion. And Bryan, Leonard, how about the Cubbies forcing a Game 5 that'll go tomorrow night after being down 2-0 in the series? Anything that you guys saw from last night's games that you want to point out, or maybe that you're looking ahead to apply in the next round, or Game 5 tomorrow for Brewers Cubs, and then we'll get into the other game.
Well, I'll just talk about the ending of the Dodgers game. I never played baseball in organized leagues or whatever, but I always played softball. We played at a pretty good level. I was playing in the Cleveland Championship one year, and I was a pitcher, and they had the bases loaded. Very similar situation. They had a line drive right back at me, hit me in the ankle, and I did the same thing. I threw a wild pitch to home, and so I've been in the same boat, much smaller, obviously, but it does affect you. And as soon as it happened, I told my wife, I said, he's got to throw to first, and he didn't throw to first. If he throws to first, he gets him. It happens. It shouldn't come down to that, but it was a hell of a ball game if you like pitching and defense. Some of the defense was really good, other not so good, but that's the way we've seen the playoffs so far. But the Dodgers look like they found their closer, and you got to think right now that they're going to be, if you didn't think it earlier, they're the team to beat.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think the Dodgers won, but I think Dave Roberts made another stupid decision in that game that almost cost him. In this situation, I think when you have a veteran pitcher on the mound, you let him go until he gets into trouble. And I think they pulled the starter way too early there. 80 pitches, he only gave up 2 hits. You don't take the guy out then. They switched him. The next guy up immediately gave a run away. I thought this is the end of the Dodgers for this game. Great call, Dave Roberts again. But the Dodgers got through with that great lineup. Having Will Smith back is just a big, huge thing. I was on the wrong side of the Brewers game. I think a lot of people probably were, because I don't think anyone expected Peralta to be that terrible and just give the game away right in the first inning. And the Brewers bats just died yesterday. 3 hits in a playoff game is not where you want to be. So they've had 2 games where they've struggled. Actually, the game before that, they lost 4-3 and they got 7 hits. So that's not so bad. But they do have some sleepy bats. And I mentioned on the show yesterday, the Cubs are the power team and the Brewers are the grinded out team, manufacture runs team. And you can see it in their stats. I mean, the Cubs have almost 100 more home runs than the Brewers do, but the Brewers have more hits, which tells you that they're a grinded out team. And when that factory conveyor belt is not grinding out hits, your offense comes to a complete halt, which is where the Brewers were last night. So back home, we'll see who the pitchers are. I don't see any indication yet, but that's going to be a good Game 7, I think. Could be the end of the Brewers' reign, but hey, the last time I called the Brewers out, look what happened to them. So we'll see what happens. But Dodgers got by on another poor Dave Roberts decision. You notice the Phillies let their starter go until the 7th inning, and he did great. So anyways, those are my thoughts.
So I guess I'll go on the Brewers Cubs first. I really wasn't that surprised that they got the Peralta. Why? Because as I said yesterday, familiarity catches up with just about everyone. You see a guy enough. These are 2 division rivals. They've played, what did I said yesterday, 13, 17. So this will be their 18th game coming up on Saturday. I just don't think either team is doing something that the other team is not prepared for at this point. I don't think either team is a pitcher that the other team is not prepared for at this point. The margin between the 2 teams is not that steep. So really not surprised the Cubs won. And Game 5 should be awesome. It's a division battle. It'll be interesting to see what the respective teams do, because they are both in a position where they may have to mix and match a little bit. They may have to decide how long they want to go with like someone like Mizorowski, or, how they want to play it. So those are my favorite type games when it gets to the playoffs. And then you've got both coaches that really have to make decisions. Of course, you have Craig Counsell, who knows his opponent as good as anyone. Murphy has proven to be a great coach. I didn't think he was going to be this good of a coach following Counsell. He's been awesome. So that's going to be a great game. As far as the Dodgers, listen, I'll go back to what Bryan said. If I don't know what else the Dodgers need to do to make you a believer in this team. And I actually think it's actually amazing that the market hasn't believed in them as much as I thought they would. I think it's the Phillies being the Phillies, and that series started in Philadelphia. The Dodgers just won that series 3-1. We're never really in danger of not winning the series. Ohtani hit 148. Freeman hit 217. Will Smith 154. I mean, those three did nothing. Really did very little all series. And as far as going back to Glass now coming out, I mean, one of the best things that the Dodgers have done that I think could be the key to them winning the World Series is Roki Sasaki coming out of the bullpen. Mm-hmm. That has been a tremendous move for them. And when I'll go back to the term, it's an embarrassment of riches. They have so many guys, so many different ways they can use them. But that was huge for them. They started experimenting with that at the AAA level when he was down there rehabbing. The reason they did that is because his rehab wasn't going well. So I watched quite a few Oklahoma City broadcasts during his time down there, and they did not like how his rehab was going. So that's why they decided to make the move, because they didn't really have room for him. They didn't want to bring him back up to the bigs, and they kind of like sent him down. He still had options. So when his rehab was done, they let him go down there, appear as a reliever. It's happened. Some of these guys, look at Varland? I mean, some of these guys, when they know they only have to go out there for an inning or two, suddenly they're throwing 100, and they're a whole different pitcher. So that, I think that's huge for the Dodgers. And we've talked about their bullpen woes at times this year. Sasaki was great yesterday, 3 scoreless, and gave his team a chance to win. So, yeah.
And
I'm with you, Bryan.
That's crazy. Crazy that they're using him for 1 inning spurts, because when he was in Japan, he was basically going into the 8th inning every single start out here. But again, the bats are really weak out here. We get game scores of 5.5 and 6.5 out here, where you're getting 8 and 8.5 out there. Not today, though, which we'll get to in just a moment. But yes, what other team left in the playoffs could beat the Philadelphia Phillies in that series without their best batter hitting? Probably no other team.
The Phillies were without Wheeler. That's an average baseball team in a 5-game series, in my
opinion. But I mean, of all the teams that are left in the playoffs, if your best hitter is not producing, you'd be in trouble. Most teams would be in trouble, but the Dodgers are not. So that's kind of.
I mean, it's definitely a worthwhile point to make. Like the Dodgers, and this will be my transition into today's game. The Dodgers can overcome managerial mistakes. That's when you have that much talent. Yep. It's very similar to the Yankees last year. The Yankees were a game or two away from winning a championship, and they made more mistakes than anyone. But last year with Soto, that team, Cole, they just had all the talent in the world, and you can overcome it. A team like the Detroit Tigers cannot, okay? And I think that'll be the segue into this game. They don't have the talent some of these other teams have. What they do have is the best manager. In my opinion, give me A.J. Hinch against anyone else in the playoffs. I power rate him 1 from a managerial standpoint. Bryan Leonard in this spot, he also, though, this will be one of the times throughout the series where he does have that ace pitcher, right? Tariq Skubal on the mound. But the Mariners might like their ace. I think you could call George Kirby at least 1A, 1B, 1C out there right now. Is kind of like where their pitchers go. So Tigers-Mariners game 5. Start us off. How are you seeing it?
Yeah, it was interesting that Brandon brought up the total, and that's the first thing that jumped out at me is we're now seeing 5.5s out there slightly to the over.
Don't see it often.
Yeah, it's then that's the way I would have treated the game, was to play the under. But even I don't have the cojones to play an under 5.5 in a Major League Baseball game, because 1 inning we could see it, 3-run homer like we did yesterday in the Milwaukee game, and that was basically the game right there in the first inning. So, well, we got Scooble going. He's about a 125 favorite here. Total of 5.5 over minus 120. There is a couple sixes out there. You got to lay about 115, 118 for, but yeah, it's expected to be a low scoring game, and with these two pitchers, you could fully see that happening. Scooble comes in 2.21 ERA, 2.73 expected, 0.89 WHIP. Been fantastic on the season, best pitcher in baseball, and he's proven it. And he continues to pick up major innings. He finished the season with 195.1, and he's already gone 3-4 games already in the playoffs. So he may have. He's not a guy I'm looking to bet on early in the season next year. Let's just say at this point. Because of all these innings he's piled up, but he loves it, and that's what he does. He's just a great pitcher, and you've got to be really good to beat him. George Kirby, up and down season because of injuries, comes in with a 4.21 ERA, 3.85 expected, 1.19 WHIP. I don't know if I'd rate him as a 1A, 1B. I think he's a solid number 2 on any team in Major League Baseball. If you take a look at his record the last 3 years, 10-8, 14-11, 13-10, and Seattle's been pretty good over that time. So you would think a number 1 guy would have better numbers than that. And if you take a look at the StatCast page, it's more red than anything, but average exit velocity, 14th percentile, hard hit rate, 21st. He is a step down from Scooble. So I would go like Scooble's a complete ace, best pitcher in baseball, and Kirby's a solid number 2. But Seattle's been very good at home all year, and this is a tough place to play in. For myself, like I said, I thought it was going to be a low-scoring game. I wanted to play the under, but the line is keeping me off of it. So I may look to do something in live betting and get a bet in that way. But other than that, I'll be passing on this one. On a side note, it would have been nice if Jesus Luzardo got the save yesterday, because then, according to Tokyo Brandon, Jesus saves, and he would have got to Philadelphia. Also, a fantastic song by the band Sabotage, Jesus Saves, one of the underrated heavy metal bands over the years.
I'll show you my sign right there. Jesus Saves with the hockey goalie mask on. Yeah,
there you go. There you go. Yeah, it's a game I'm looking forward to watch, but I won't have anything on it.
So when I cap games, the first thing I do is just look it over and kind of get my first impression before I look at any lines, before I look at any stats or anything. I just like to get a first impression, because my first impression, I'm not like braggadocious or anything, but my first impression is generally more correct than if I overanalyze something. So when I looked at this, my first impression was, okay, Scooble lost his last start. He's actually lost, I think, his last 2 starts. But my impression is that he hasn't really been very sharp his last 2 starts. That was my impression. Now, am I right or wrong? So I went and looked at his stats. He's been really good, and he's actually been going 7 or more innings in the postseason, which is pretty rare. So it tells you what the manager allows, and the manager for the Tigers allows his starters to go deep. This starter to go deep. Now, my impression was that he had a bad start last time, but giving up 2 earned in 7 innings is not a bad start. With 9K, not a bad start at all. 5 hits and a walk. So my impression was that's a bad start. Okay, that's a bad start for Scooble maybe, but any pitcher in this league would take that start any day. So the game before that, I misspoke. The game before that was a win against the Guardians, the Cleveland team. I hate that name, the Guardians. And he gave up 1 earned in 7 2/3. So Scooble is amazing, obviously. So my next impression was, okay, the Tigers, not exactly a ferocious offense. Seattle's got the names, the hitters, the home run hitters, the best catcher in the league, Suarez, a couple guys behind Suarez who can also swat it. So you got the better lineup against the better pitcher, and usually that means under. So you look at the under, it's 5.5 and 6s. No way you can take that. So I wanted to take a look at Kirby's stats. Now, Kirby's a solid pitcher. He's an upper echelon pitcher, but he's not, in the class of Tariq Skubal at all. But he's facing a lineup that's not exactly murderer's row. But against these batters, take a look at Kirby's past against these batters. 99 at-bats against 293 average and a 986 OPS. And he's on the road. So, I'm sorry, he's at home. So he's better at home than not. So what trumps what? Do you trust the fact that he's at home? Do you trust the fact that he's facing a not so great lineup? Or do you kind of rely on his past stats and say, well, maybe the Tigers will get to him? In any case, I think the Tigers will probably come out on top in this one when you put it all together. But it looks like another one of those 2-1, 3-1 kind of games that they've always been having, these two teams. They always seem to have like a 2-1 game. It's kind of looking like that to me. Those are my first impressions. Now, I can expound more and more off of it, but I think Adam's chomping at the bit to say something, so I'll pass it over.
Oh, no, I was actually just I was reading a text that someone sent me, college basketball related, because that's all I've been doing in my spare time the last basically week, in addition to, of course, following the Major League Baseball playoffs, watching MLB games, hitting the Giants last night. I'll tell you what, I was going to I'm still going to put this up for sale. But because I'm very, very likely posting a 5% NFL play as soon as I get off the show, or, at some point this morning. I have a nice run going, hit the Giants last night, hit the Jaguars on Monday. So I think it's time to go big. I'm just going to give you the play I made in this game. Again, this is just for you guys that actually watch the show. I'm still putting it up for sale. So know that it is going up for sale. I did play the Tigers here. Now, I know people are going to say, but Trig, I know you need the Mariners. Here's the thing, and I want to answer this, and I'll go back to you two in terms of because I think this is an interesting topic we haven't really covered, and it's going to start to creep up for some people. If you have a future, for me, they're two separate things. So I took some Mariners futures back in May. Okay. I put that's off in the corner. I don't even think about it. I don't let it creep into my handicap. I'm not, because remember, I'm just betting a number relative to what I think it should be in May. I'm not sitting here saying, well, they're going to be in game 5 against Tariq Skubal. We don't know who the matchups are at that point. So I don't even think about that. And so I know people keep asking me, but Trig, you said Mariners. You like Mariners. You've liked them all season. Well, if you go back to watch any of the shows that we've done, I said that this matchup is far more favorable to the Tigers in terms of the way they match up as opposed to the way they would match up with some other teams. So I like the fact that the Mariners don't have much in regards to left-handed pitching. I've said that from the beginning. I think it helps the star players on this Tigers team, which again, it's the playoffs. You need, not everyone's the Dodgers, right? Not everyone can get by without their stars stepping up. And I just truly believe that the best matchup for Carpenter and Green gives the Tigers a better chance to win than if we were seeing someone, if we were seeing a team that was just throwing lefty after lefty against them, even though some of the other players on the team have better numbers against lefties. So I've said the whole year, I think guys the fact that they've seen now Kirby, Miller, Castillo, Gilbert, they're all coming from similar arm slots. They're all right-handed pitchers. You now get the 5th game. You now get your second look at Kirby. I think that's more of an advantage for the Tigers than, let's say, the other way around. Yeah, okay, great. The Mariners get to see Skubal again. And he's one of the best pitchers in the game. He probably is the best pitcher in the game right now. And he, like Tokyo Brandon said, he wasn't bad in game 2 when they lose 3-2. Just a tough game. I think Polanco got him for a home run.
I think it was 2-1, wasn't it?
Was it 2-1? I think there was something like that. It was, the point is, it was a low-scoring game. I like AJ Hinch. I think he's a better manager. And
oh, you're right. 3-2. You're right.
Tokyo Brandon, you made a point that I think was a good point that I want to elaborate on, and then we'll go back to Bryan for his thoughts on it. You said Skubal, he's going to let Skubal go. You're 100% right about that. As much as Hinch likes to toy with things, this is the one guy where he's a unicorn, right? Like you don't have many. Tariq Skubal is an old school ace where it's like game 5, this is your game. We're gonna go as you go. Dan Wilson seems to be more old school in the way he handles his pitching, where it's like he's riding his starters out. He really, if you've watched this series, I mean, he's been hesitant to go get his starter out of the game. It's almost like, I think in every game, at least, I'm pretty sure they've gone at least into the 5th inning. I know he got Miller out in the 5th, but it was like you could kind of see, like, can I get him through the 5th inning? Castillo was in the same boat. Do I want to leave him through 5? So, like, I think Dan Wilson is much more old school, where it's like you're gonna get it's George Kirby's game until it's not, but it's not going to be a scenario where it's like he's in for 2 or 3 innings and then he's out. The only way that's happening is if he's getting shelled. So I think the Tigers, though, you give me a 3rd time through against Kirby, I have more confidence in the Tigers getting the big hit than I would the Mariners 3rd time through against Skubal. And then I don't think there's a huge difference between Hinch managing his bullpen at the end of the game and the Mariners and theirs. Obviously, if it comes down to like you got to beat Munoz, well, at that point, you're probably already beat. But other than that, I think the Tigers have the edge. So I'll go back to Bryan, and then we'll go to TB. Any follow-up comments to any of that?
No, I will say whoever wins this, if Detroit does win it, they're behind the 8 ball because they've used Skubal so often. And if he does go what we expect 7 innings or longer today, he'll probably be their number 3 starter in the next series. Whereas with Seattle, they've got so many guys that are in the same general area for starters. It's not as big of a deal for them. So even if Detroit wins this, keep in mind, if you're looking to play the next series, that Skubal will not be able to go likely anywhere near as many times as he's gone so far. And that would lower their chances of winning.
Yeah. Also, one thing to keep in mind, I'll just touch on a couple of props for this game. Skubal, as I mentioned, has finished 7 innings his last 2 starts. 7 innings equals 21 outs. Skubal's outs prop today is 19.5. I've never seen a 19.5 so far this season. Now, Wheeler was the one who was getting a lot of 18.5s, and Bryan Wu was getting some 18.5s, but I have not seen a 19.5 yet. This is my first one. So 19.5 means, will he record 2 outs in the 7th inning? So yes or no? He might, but that's you have to have some testicular fortitude to bet that. His strikeout prop, 9.5. So will he or will he not get 10 strikeouts? Holy cow. I haven't seen a 10.5 or a 9.5 this season either. So the books are on to AJ Hinch's managing style. They know this is Skubal's game. They're going to ride him. And I agree with that strategy, because the managers who look to tomorrow when they're making their decisions in this game always lose. You have to win today to even get to tomorrow. So if you're saving guys tonight to get to a game the day after tomorrow, that's a losing strategy. And the managers who do that always lose. But I doubt Hinch will do that. He's not caring about how many games Skubal will start in the next series. He just wants to get to the next series, which is smart managing. Kirby's outs prop, by the way, is 14.5. So will he or will he not finish the 5th inning? I think that's a proper number, because he could come out early. I mean, the playoff games, this is the type of game where a manager can put another starter in as a mid reliever, like we saw with the Phillies doing with Jesus last night. So I think that prop is pretty accurate. And then strikeouts for Kirby is at 5.5, which I think is a little high. Probably look to a little bit lower on that. Just give me one more minute on the hitting side. The guys who have gotten to Kirby on this team are mainly Gleyber Torres is 5 for 12, Keith Colt 5 for 10, and Riley Green is 4 for 12. So if you want to bet hits, runs, RBI props, something like that, those would probably be the guys to look at. I have not done any of those yet because Seattle's bullpen's pretty good. So I'm going to avoid hits, runs, RBIs props or any hitter props for this game. That's my prop segment for y'all.
So I saw something, two comments in the chat. So Wolf, I'll agree with one of these and disagree with the other. I don't think JP Crawford's a good matchup against Skubal. That's a tough, that's left on left, and Skubal probably wipes him out. However, Cal Raleigh, his OPS is higher against left-handed pitching than, I mean, it's high against everything. But he has surprisingly like elite numbers from the right side of the plate for a switch hitter. His OPS is actually higher from the right side of the plate. So I don't mind a Raleigh prop against Skubal if that's the way that you want to go. Google states the so the Mariners have beat him. Let me just go back to the Mariners against Skubal this year. One of those games was, I believe, either his first or second start of the season. They played like the literal first day of April, Tigers Mariners. They then played again in that series that the Tigers kind of were like, yeah, we don't really care. It was the series before the All-Star break where the Mariners swept the Tigers, and I think the Tigers were already on vacation. They had like 5-6 dudes going to the All-Star game. They had a 10-game lead in the division. They said, yeah, we're all set here. They got pounded the whole weekend. So I wouldn't put much stock into those regular season numbers for these two teams. It was, if anything, I think the regular season meetings like understate the Tigers a little bit because they totally just like didn't show up for that series prior to the All-Star break. So I would trust more what you saw in game 2 from Skubal being like what you're probably going to see here. That's just sort of my answer to that.
Yeah,
right,
and just to add to that, guys who have done okay against Skubal, yeah, JP Crawford has great numbers against Skubal, but it's small sample size. Arozarena is 6 for 21. Polanco, 9 for 29. So those are guys, if you really want to take a hitter's prop against Tariq Skubal, which I don't think most sane people would do, those would be the guys to target for that.
I do want to point out, if you do Crawford's been batting at the bottom of the lineup. Yeah. So the chances of him getting 3 at-bats against Skubal probably not going to happen. So he's going to have to get a hit in his first 2 at-bats. So,
and Crawford's one of those guys who's been around forever. So he might have compiled those stats like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah. I would say the best hitter prop, if you want a Mariners hitter prop, it's got to be Cal Raleigh because you're getting him from the right side against Skubal. Probably has the best chance of anyone to hit Skubal in that lineup. His OPS from the right side is like over 1,000, And then later in the game, if they do take Skubal out, Raleigh will never be he says it's anyone they throw at him is going to be a good matchup for him. Whereas like you could almost argue that Crawford could be pinch hit for at some point if they really wanted to. And like Bryan's saying, he's down at the bottom of the order. Yeah, that would be, I don't think him having a couple of good at-bats against Skubal is enough. I would say like give me the next 10 at-bats, probably go Tariq's way between those two. So yeah.
All right. Well, we didn't do any promotions, so let me just throw one out, letting you guys know that Wager Talk allows us to price our MLB plays at $9 for the rest of the season, anything but a 5% play. And all 3 of us generally will put out some free plays. So go to wagertalk.com and click the free plays page to see what all the Wager Talk cappers are offering. Had to throw that in or else they will skin us.
Yeah, no, check that out. I think TB and I are still grinding out Asian baseball. I know we can put our Korean plays up for a discount. I actually may have a play in KBO, which would be, I believe, kind of tomorrow morning, our time. So keep an eye out for that. And like I said, I kind of gave my thoughts on this game. So, you kind of rewatch the show. You'll know when I'm on in MLB today. Bryan, you have any hockey for today, you think?
For some reason, there is no hockey schedule today. You talk about the NBA, Major League Baseball doing stupid things. What? You have a full schedule tomorrow, whether it's college football all day long. I don't know. I don't know. It's early in the
No,
season.
I've noticed NHL for whatever reason will do that, and I'm not like a hockey fan. I don't even really follow the league at all, but I noticed that they'll have like a full day of games, and the next day there will be one game. But they're not getting rained out. They play inside, so I'm not quite sure what the meaning of the open date is for. But
hockey scheduling is quite weird. They do that sometimes. They'll have 2 games in a day, and then the next day they'll have like 10 games. It's kind of weird how they schedule it.
Yesterday and today they get the day off, I guess. I don't know.
Guess one guy is just in his basement making the schedule and faxes it to him or something.
I got a wedding that day. I don't want to have to watch hockey.
Yeah, we'll go with a league-wide off day, like the 4th day of the season. You know,
Exactly.
People are excited. Hey, people are excited for hockey back. McKinnis has shows at all hours. Let's just take a day off. Let's make sure they have nothing to talk about for a full day.
By the way, I know we're about to finish up. After I did the show yesterday, I did the hockey show, and Prez was on there, and he says, "Bryan Leonard never called me to congratulate the Toronto Blue Jays," and he goes, he said he didn't like the pitching staff before the season started. And I said, well, yeah, they didn't have Yusevich then. They didn't have a lot of things. I said, but I put a 5% on Toronto yesterday. Yeah. I've been rooting for Toronto. I've had Toronto a lot lately. So, yeah, he was giving me shit because in Vegas, I said something about the Las Vegas Aces winning the championship a couple of years ago. He goes, who cares about that? I go, well, if they win again the next game, they would have won 3 out of 4 years. I don't see any Toronto teams doing that.
Why don't the Jays win something before people get excited?
Well, that's what I mean. Why do you get congratulated for winning the division series? Like, you got to do a little bit more.
Yeah.
Before you're picking up the
trophies for everyone.
The Yankees and the Dodgers weren't overly excited to get to that point. So, yeah.
Yeah. You got to act like you've been there sometimes.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
Which they haven't. You know, people just like them because they're from Canada, I guess. But yeah, they got a little shot. But if they face the Dodgers, I really don't see them having much chance.
Those early '90s Blue Jays teams, I have some of my first memories of baseball as a kid was my parents taking me to the Sky Dome because it was like, you know, that's like a 4-hour drive from where I grew up, and I pretty much like one of my favorite players as a kid was Roberto Alomar because of his stint on the Blue Jays, and I think they won back-to-back World Series. I would say that's like my first vivid baseball memory as a child was Joe Carter winning that World Series. So they
have Brett Saberhagen on that
maybe
team.
It'll be this year. Maybe it'll be this year for
Saberhagen.
Saberhagen was with the Royals.
Saberhagen. Okay.
Yeah. But they have a commercial on the games yesterday from the Canadian TV, and they had Joe Carter on it, and he's finally looking old after all these years. He still looks better than anybody that age that I know, but yeah, I love Joe Carter, loved Toronto at that time, and very good baseball team back then.
David, I believe the Diamondbacks have one world championship, but to me, it's still the best one. I still would, as far as for my lifetime, the best World Series I think I've ever witnessed was Arizona Yankees 2001. So that would be, I believe, the Diamondbacks' lone title, and then of course they fell to the Rangers 3 years ago, 2023.
2023, and then they've made 2 appearances. Yes, and that was they had Schilling, Randy Johnson. They had a heck of a rotation on that team, man. That was a pretty cool team.
Personally, my favorite Diamondbacks team should have been in the World Series, and they choked against the Rockies. And it would have been the team. It was the year the Red Sox won. I think
they beat the Rockies.
So were the Rockies in a row or something?
2007.
They swept the Rockies. They swept the Rockies, but that Arizona team was much better than that Rockies team, and it was just the Rockies got just white hot. I think that was Matt Holliday. They won. They snuck into the wild card, and
they had Bichette and Holliday, I believe, and
it was Holliday. It was Todd Helton, maybe Troy Tulowitzki, maybe was already
really good players.
Great team.
Yep.
Anyway, we could reminisce all day. I could sit here and just talk about random, baseball stuff all day. But again, we went through Wolf. What did I think about the Giants game yesterday? Well, that was my client play. Gave it out 4%, they won outright. So if you're looking for NFL, I'm going to have a 5% up for Sunday. shortly. So check that out on my page. Check out these other guys' pages as well. We put up a bunch of free stuff. I'll tell you what, once college hoops starts, the free stuff will on my page will increase considerably because the volume is so much higher. I have so much more I can give out for free. But just go, all you have to do is go over to the Wager Talk site, hit free picks. It's very nicely organized for you. They're just everyone's free pick is in a row. So check that out and enjoy game 5 tonight. We'll be back on Monday. At least we have 2 games to talk Monday. So it'll be game 2 of, I believe, the AL, game 1 of the NL. Looking forward to that. Hope everyone has a great weekend, and we'll see you guys on Monday morning.